Welcome to The Debrief, where we talk with the Washington Examiner's top journalists about the headlines they're covering this week and where the story's going next. I'm Sarah Westwood, and I'm here today with Editor-in-Chief Hugo Gurdon. And Hugo, you wrote in your column this week that former South Carolina Governor Nikki Haley is a highly plausible challenger to Donald Trump. What do you see as some of her strengths?
Well, the way that I used plausible there was, I have to admit, somewhat faint praise. It's not as though it isn't a measure of enthusiasm or likelihood of success. She's highly plausible because first of all, she has a great resume. She was ambassador to the United Nations, where she did a good job, and she was also an effective governor of South Carolina. So she has serious executive and policy experience. She's articulate, she has great ideas, she's very presentable, and there are all sorts of ways in which she meets certain requirements that people would probably have. But there is about her, unfortunately, an impression or an air that she represents, to some extent, what the Republican Party used to be 10 years ago, and that is much less in touch with the Republican Party is now. I think that her chances are actually only rather slim of securing the nomination. And I think that that's one of the reasons why people like John Bolton immediately said that she's running for vice president.
That's interesting. I hadn't heard that. That would make a lot of sense, though. She had pledged very publicly months ago that she would not enter the 2024 race if Donald Trump was a candidate, so she sort of started off on a flip-flop. How much of a problem do you think that will be for her?
Well, Donald Trump will certainly make it a problem, and I think that it will be presented by anybody who wants to tarnish her as a very clear demonstration of what she says at one time is contradicted by what she says at another time. It's a very obvious contradiction. She's going to have to do better at explaining it. She explains it by saying, well, when I made that assertion, we hadn't had the debacle in Afghanistan, and we didn't have this terrible government spending and inflation. But all of those things and others that she cited are really just, they are good examples of bad policy, and she's right to cite those things, but they don't really make a difference to the fact that she did say she wouldn't run against her former boss, Donald Trump, and now says she will. She's emphasizing that it's time for something new, and I think that is absolutely the case. Joe Biden is the oldest president we've ever had at 80, but Donald Trump is going to be in his the second half of his 70s if he were to win. And I think there's a very good case to be made that people should, people in their 40s and 50s are the sort of leaders that one wants. I don't think that she has really met and pushed aside that contradiction in her past, and she's going to have to do it repeatedly over the course of the next 2 years.
Someone else who would presumably be able to make that generational contrast is a fellow South Carolina Republican, Senator Tim Scott, who is sort of exploring the potential of running.
Right.
Where do you think he would fit into the 2024 primary field?
Well, Tim Scott is another, frankly, very plausible candidate. He's very smart, he's likable, he comes from the strategically convenient and important state of South Carolina, which is important in the primaries, and he would fit in as a smart conservative of the new generation. The thing is that both with him and with Haley and with others, one has to say that there is no popular demand for their candidacy. They're going to have to try and generate that demand, which is, Tim Scott is going on a listening tour in South Carolina, I think as early as, this week. So he's clearly preparing to run, and there have been reports of him preparing to run. The problem is that even though these people are plausible candidates, the fact of their entry into the primary field, with the express purpose, in the case of Nikki Haley, and I suspect also of Tim Scott, of providing an alternative to Trump, can actually help Trump quite a lot, because in 2016 he won the nomination despite more Republicans voting against him, at least in the early primaries, than voted for him. He was winning New Hampshire and other states with numbers in the 30%, the 35%, the mid-30s, dividing all the others. A big field, as there was in 2016, and the bigger the field now, the more chance that Donald Trump has of taking the nomination, winning it with a plurality during the really important months of the primaries, and then going on to be defeated again by the Democrat.
Yeah, they'd need a move like the Democrats did in 2020 with Joe Biden. Everybody drops out and backs the one horse.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, thank you so much for being here today, Hugo. You can get more writing from Hugo and the rest of the commentary team at washingtonexaminer.com.